Good morning, children. Uh, as we have already started with the chapter Simple Machine, and we have understood about lever, what is the meaning of lever, and we have seen different classes of lever, class 1 lever, class 2 lever, class 3 lever in the last video. So today we are going to understand with respect to the mechanical advantage with different types of lever. So when we have seen for the machine, what is the mechanical advantage of the machine? As we have seen, mechanical advantage is load upon effort. Okay. So when we take the ratio of load and effort, we get the mechanical advantage for the machine. But when we are talking about the mechanical advantage for the lever, the formula is, we'll just going to that slide first. So the formula is effort arm upon load arm. So here we don't write load upon effort for the lever. As it is a machine, even load upon effort is applicable for the lever. But because we have two arms, effort arm and load arm, so the mechanical advantage formula for the lever is effort arm upon load arm. So let's see now for the class 1 lever first. So now here you can see this is all the examples for the class 1 lever. So here fulcrum is at the center, effort and load are on the either side. Now if you measure the load arm, so how are you going to measure the load arm? So let's see that when you are measuring the load arm, you are going to measure with respect to the fulcrum. So from the fulcrum, what is the length of where the load is placed? So from the fulcrum till the load, this particular length is known as the load arm. This is the load arm. And the distance or the length between the fulcrum and the effort, means from the fulcrum till the effort, this is known as the effort arm. So this is effort arm. So whenever you want to find the mechanical advantage, so you will measure the length of the effort arm, you'll measure the length of the load arm, and then you will use the formula MA is equal to effort arm, I'm just writing it in short, upon load arm. So now here you can see effort arm is longer than the load arm, and that's why your MA, when you take the ratio, MA is going to be greater than 1. So here this particular plier will act as a force multiplier as MA is greater than 1. If MA is less than 1, it acts as gain in speed, and if MA is equal to 1, it is only useful in changing the direction. So here we'll write it acts as a force multiplier. Okay, so now you can see even for the just shifting this over here. Okay, so now if you see if you go to the next one, that is the spade turning the soil. Over here, fulcrum is over at the center, effort and load is over here. So you will measure the effort arm and the length of the load arm. And here you can see even in this case, so this is going to give you the effort arm length, and this length, that is from the fulcrum till the load, this will give you the length of the load arm. So observing the effort arm and the load arm, you can say that even in this case MA is greater than 1. So even the spade is acting like a force multiplier. Now if you see scissors, shears, okay, in this shears, the fulcrum is at the center, effort and load is on the either side. So again, here, if you see carefully, the effort arm and the load arm. So effort arm is longer. So even here, MA is greater than 1. So greater than 1. Even this shears act as a force multiplier. Now we go to the next slide and we'll see different examples again. So here you can see that the load arm and the effort arm, if you see over here, this is from the fulcrum, the position of the effort. If we consider one boy as the effort and the other boy as the load. And as I have told you, load arrow will be always downwards and effort arrow will be always in the upward position. When you are showing in the schematic diagram, remember it. So don't get confused that here it is both showing in downward direction because the weight of the boys is acting like a force. So here if you consider one of the boy as a load, it is going to be in the downward direction. One of the boy as the effort, even then it's going to be in the downward direction. But when we are showing schematic diagram to understand the difference in the load and the effort, we represent load in the downward direction, effort in the upward direction. So here you can see this will be acting like a here from the fulcrum till the effort is going to be acting like effort arm. So here this is the effort arm, EA, and from here fulcrum till the position of the load is going to be acting like the load arm. So here is the load arm. So as you can see, both the lengths, load arm and effort arm, are equal. So as EA is equal to MA, EA is equal to LA, load arm is equal to effort arm. Therefore, MA is equal to 1. So now when MA is equal to 1, what is the use of this particular lever? It's only helping to change the direction. So you can say it's neither force multiplier nor change in nor gain in speed. It is only helping to change the direction of the application of effort. Now here you have to just say that MA is equal to 1, okay, with respect to seesaw. So here MA is equal to 1, you can see in this case of lever. Now you can see over here is the spoon where it is shown that fulcrum is at the center, load is over here and the effort is over here. Again you can see the effort arm and the load arm if you compare. So the effort arm is longer than the load arm and that's why again here it's force multiplier. MA is greater than 1. So I hope children till here it's clear. Now we go to the next diagram. So in this case, claw hammer. So even here you can see that the effort arm is longer because from the fulcrum, if you measure the length of the effort and the between the length of the between fulcrum and the effort, if you measure the length, that's going to be the effort arm. So this is effort arm. And this is the load arm. So if you see the length, effort arm is greater. So even the claw hammer is acting like a force multiplier where MA is greater than 1. Okay, so this is how you have to identify in the lever or the figure which is given to you for the class of lever. They will ask you to identify the class of the lever. They will ask you to mark the position of the fulcrum, effort, and the load. So you will know where you have to mark it. Now, in case of claw hammer, you are going to mark the position of the load. They won't be giving this load, fulcrum, and effort. They will be only giving you the figure, and you have to mark the load, effort, and the fulcrum position. And then with respect to this, you have to identify the class of the lever, and you have to say whether MA is less than 1, greater than 1, or equal to 1. This is how the question will be asked. Now, in case of the handle of the water pump, you can see that the load is over here. So you have to mark the position of the load properly. The fulcrum is this fixed point, and this is the effort. Now you can see over here, the load arm is longer than the effort arm. So when the load arm is longer, you can see over here, the load arm, this is the length of the load arm. So I'm writing it in short form as LA. You have to write completely as load arm. So this is load arm. And this particular length is the effort arm. So this is EA. So if you observe, as the load arm is longer than the effort arm, so as load arm is longer than effort arm, therefore MA is less than 1. Sorry. MA is less than 1. And if MA is less than 1, then it acts as gain in speed. So in this case, the handle of the water pump is gain in speed. So this is how you have to identify whether MA is less than 1, greater than 1, or equal to 1. Children, I hope till here it's clear. Please write down in your textbook wherever the diagram is, whatever we are talking about. So write in detail, take the markings. The position, I'm repeating once again, position of load, effort, and fulcrum is important. Whatever examples are given in your text, they'll be asking from there only. So you should know with respect to these figures, where is the position of the load, effort, and the fulcrum. And also to identify whether MA is less than 1, greater than 1, or equal to 1. And with respect to that, whether the lever will act as a force multiplier, gain in speed, or change in the direction. So that is how you have to identify, and you only this part is important from this chapter. More of theory is not asked, it is all diagram based and application questions are asked from this chapter. Now we go to the next slide. So in the next slide, you can see fulcrum is at the center. Even here, the load arm and the effort arm you have to mark. So when you're marking, you can see that this is from the position of the fulcrum. Always remember, from the position of the fulcrum you have to take. So this is the position of the fulcrum to the effort, and then from the fulcrum to the load, this is the load arm. So you can see that the length of the load arm and the effort arm are equal. So if effort arm and load arm are equal, then in this case you can write that MA is equal to 1. And if MA is equal to 1, um, what will it act as? It will be helping in change in direction. of application of effort. Okay, so application of effort. So this is how you have to write down for the different class of lever. So now from this, as we are now going to start, we will be going to the class 2 lever. So before going to the class 2 lever, we have to understand that from this we understand that MA for the class 1 lever can be MA can be equal to 1. Okay, if the load arm and the effort arm are equal, MA can be greater than 1, and MA can be less than 1. So all three possibilities are possible in case of class 1 lever. So in case of class 1 lever, as fulcrum is at the center, and accordingly we can shift the fulcrum, position of the fulcrum. We can have a longer effort arm, and we can shift the fulcrum to the other side and have a longer load arm. So as we can shift the fulcrum to the left or to the right and change the length of the load arm and the effort arm, that's the reason we can change the MA. So MA in case of class 1 can be equal to 1, greater than 1, or less than 1. So all three possibilities are there, and that's the reason class 1 lever can act as a force multiplier, gain in speed, and change in the direction of position of the um, application of effort. So I hope till here, children, it's clear. Now we go to the next class of lever. So in class 2 lever, as we have already seen that the load is at the center. So when the load is at the center, when you are going to measure the load arm from the fulcrum, okay, till the load, you're going to measure the length of the load arm. So load arm is from the fulcrum, that is the pivot. Even for fulcrum, pivot word is allowed. So from the pivot to the load is the load arm, and from the pivot to the effort, okay, till here is the effort arm. So as you can see over here, it's going to be always fixed, that load arm, because you know it is at the center, it is going to be closer to the fulcrum. So load arm is always going to be less than the effort arm. So this is going to be fixed. You can of course, you know, shift the position of the load. You can bring it closer to the pivot, or you can move it away from the pivot. That flexibility you have while you design the class 2 lever. But you have to understand that wherever you place the load, if the load is placed over here also, but when you are measuring from the fulcrum, uh, the load arm, because the length of the load between the load and the fulcrum when you are measuring, so load arm is always going to be less than the effort arm, and that's the reason, as load arm is going to be less than the effort arm, LA is always going to be less than effort arm. Therefore you can say that this particular class of lever here, as you know that MA is equal to EA upon LA, that is effort arm upon load arm. So in this case, MA is going to be greater than 1. So if MA is greater than 1, in this case, always the class 2 lever is acting like a force multiplier. Okay, so always I'm saying that this particular class of lever is acting like a force multiplier. So class 2 lever is always acting like a force multiplier. Remember this, children, because MA is greater than 1 as effort arm is longer than the load arm. So let's see now how we are going to understand with different examples over here. So here you can see the bottle opener. So this is the load and the fulcrum, and this is the effort. So here you can see effort arm is longer than the load arm, and that's why bottle opener is acting like a force multiplier because MA is greater than 1. Even here nutcracker, as load is at the center, effort arm, because from the position of the fulcrum you're going to measure the length till the effort is. So here you can see from the fulcrum. So whenever you are measuring this, because you all make mistakes when you all are measuring the length, always from the fulcrum till the effort you have to measure this length, and from the load till the fulcrum. So you can see that here in this case also the effort arm is greater than the load arm. Even here the measurement, that is this particular length, and when you compare this length, okay, because from the fulcrum till the position of the effort, from the fulcrum till the position of the load, so you can see that effort arm is greater than load arm, and hence MA is greater than 1, and that's why nutcracker also acts as a force multiplier. Similarly, you can see bar to lift the load over here, the fulcrum is here, load is at the center, so this is the length of the load arm, and from fulcrum till the effort is the position of the effort arm. So as the length of the effort arm is greater than the load arm, that's why this particular type of lever also acts as a force multiplier as MA is greater than 1. So I hope children till here it's clear. Now we go to the next slide. So in the next slide, you can see wheelbarrow where the load is at the center, effort and fulcrum are on the either side. So here also when you're measuring the length, okay, so you are going to write that this is the fulcrum to the load is the load arm, fulcrum to the effort is the effort arm. So here you can see this is the load arm and this is the effort arm. So now you can see as effort arm is greater than load arm, here also you will say that as effort arm is greater than load arm, MA is going to be greater than 1, and MA is greater than 1, then it is acting like a force multiplier. So force multiplier. So I hope till here it's clear. Please write it down and try to understand, because this chapter will go easy for you if you understand the concept properly. If you are able to mark the position of the load in downward direction, effort in upward direction, this is how you have to mark the load and the effort. Fulcrum, you have to mark the position of the fulcrum, and then you have to write whether the MA is less than 1, greater than 1 or equal to 1, and accordingly you have to write whether it is a force multiplier, gain in speed, or helping to change the direction of the uh, application of the effort. So children, this chapter will go easy if you understand the concept. Only the application based question is asked most of the time. So, if you know the concepts and whatever definitions with respect to mechanical advantage velocity ratio is given, you have to learn that. So this chapter is not at all difficult for you. Understand that. Now we go to the next class of lever. So in next class of lever, so here you have to understand when you're talking with respect to class 2 lever, it is always remember acting like force multiplier. Okay, now we go to the next class of lever, class 3 lever, where effort is at the center. So you will understand from this figure that this is the effort arm. From the fulcrum till the effort is the effort arm. So this is the effort arm. and from the position of the pivot or the fulcrum till the load. Okay, because effort is at the center over here. Just take care of marking it load arm. So now here you can see that in this case also, in this case, very important, that load arm is greater than effort arm. Okay, so what is greater over here? The load arm. So if load arm is greater than the effort arm, then what are you going to have as the mechanical advantage? It is going to be mechanical advantage is effort arm upon load arm. So as effort arm, the numerator is going to be smaller than the denominator. So MA is less than 1. So as MA is less than 1, you have to understand, as MA is less than 1, it will act as gain in speed. This particular type of lever will act as gain in speed. Children, this is important. As I told you, understanding the position of the load, effort and the fulcrum, understanding the length between the fulcrum and the load, the fulcrum and the effort, which length is greater, accordingly understanding whether the mechanical advantage is less than, greater than or equal to 1. This is very important in this chapter. So if you understand that, it's going to be easy for you. So no learning part is there, it's all application. So now here we go to the examples after this. So in case of example, that is a foot treadle, you can see over here, this is the length of the fulcrum and the effort, and this is the length of the between the fulcrum and the load. So you can see load arm is always going to be greater than the effort arm. So as load arm is greater than effort arm, what can you write about the MA? MA is going to be less than 1. So MA less than 1. And as MA is less than 1, it will act as gain in speed. Gain in. Okay. Similarly, for sugar tongs, you can see that when you're marking the length, so from the fulcrum till the load, from the fulcrum till the effort. So here also you can see load arm is greater than effort arm. So MA is going to be less than 1, and that's why it is gain in speed. Okay, children. Now the next figure. In the next figure, knife, you can see that the load and the fulcrum position. So this is the length between the fulcrum and the load, and this is the position between the fulcrum and the effort. So here also you can see the load arm is greater than effort arm, and as load arm is greater than effort arm, MA is going to be less than 1, and that's why gain in speed. Okay. Marking the position of the load, effort and fulcrum, children, it's very, very important, and only from the textbook figures, the levers examples which are given in the text, only those will be asked. So please make sure that you are learning it from the textbook, you are marking it and you're drawing it for yourself, because drawing class 2 lever examples, drawing class 3 lever examples will be asked in the exam. So drawing and marking the position is important, practice it. Now we go to the next example. So spade lifting a load, again here you can see in case of spade lifting a load, the position of the load and the fulcrum. Okay, again load arm is greater than the effort arm. Through this you can understand. So again spade lifting the load, here also MA is going to be less than 1, and that's why it is gain in speed. Okay, now we go to the next So we are done with all kinds of liver. So here, this is a recap of what we have done. MA for the liver is effort arm upon load arm. As load arm is equal to effort arm, if load arm and effort arm are equal, then MA is equal to 1. If load arm is greater than effort arm, then MA is less than 1, as we have seen. If effort arm is greater than load arm, then MA is greater than 1. So class 1 lever, three possibilities are there. MA can be greater than 1, less than 1, or equal to 1. So it can act as all three: force multiplier, gain in speed, and change the direction of application of effort. For class 2 lever, its MA always greater than 1, so it acts as a force multiplier only. Class 3 lever, MA is less than 1, so it acts as gain in speed only. So this was a recap of what we have seen, children. I hope everything is clear. Don't keep any doubts in your mind. Practice with, draw diagrams, practice it. And if you have any query, you can write it as the comment. I'll get back to you. So children, now we go to the next slide. This is important, where you have to understand that in human body, where in which position, or in which, because bones, when they are functioning, they act as liver, okay, due to the joints which are present, so that the working becomes easier. So there are three types of liver which is present. So here you can see action of nodding of head. When you're nodding your head, that time the position over here of the bone, when your vertebrae, the first vertebrae is fixing the head, it acts as a pivot, the fulcrum. And this is how you are, when you're nodding your head, this is the load, your head is the load. And when you are trying to push it with your muscles, that is the effort. So you can see over here the fulcrum is at the center, force and that is the effort and load are on the either side. So this particular action of nodding of head is related to class 1 liver. Sorry. Now second is raising the weight of the body on toes. So when you're trying to raise the weight of the body on toes, that time you can see over here that the load is acting, or the load is at the center. The fulcrum, you're fixing your toes. So the load is at the center, and this is where your effort is. So as the load is at the center, it's class 2 lever when you're raising the weight of the body on toes. So, for this particular type of question, when it is asked that give an example of the lever present in the human body, you will be writing the action of nodding of head, raising the weight of the body on toes. You will be writing with in this form. Diagrams are not asked. Sometimes they may ask you, they may give you the figure and tell you to mark the position of the load, effort, and the fulcrum. But you should, when you are writing it as an example, you have to write action of nodding of head as class 1, raising the weight of the body on toes as class 2. And for class 3, when you are trying to, here you can see that you are trying to raise a load by your forearm. So here is the load, and with the help of forearm, you are trying to raise it. So fulcrum is over here. So this fixed point is the fulcrum. This is the effort at the center, and load is at other end. So in this case, raising a load by forearm is class 3 lever. So here they might be asking that what is this kind of lever? It's only helping to change the direction of application of effort. In this case, as you can see, class 2 lever always acts as a force multiplier. So it is acting like a force multiplier. And this is gain in. Okay, children. So only these three types you have to learn with respect to that. So I have, with schematic diagram given, because they will ask you for 3 marks, 5 marks question with the help of schematic diagram. Support your answer with the example of the class 1, class 2 liver in the human body. So you have to write your answer in this form. It will give you, it will help you to get full marks. Okay. So now we go to the next part. So in next part, you can see over here, we are starting with pulley. So you can see this is a figure for the pulley. Diagram to draw pulley will be asked. Now here you can see this is a single fixed pulley. So you can see this is a rigid support. This is the hook of the rigid support. This is the hook of the pulley which is attached to it. This is the frame of the pulley. This is the axle. This particular pulley and the string. This is the load. This is where the effort is. Tension, you can see that you have to mark the tension T and T. One is used to balance the effort and other is used to balance the load. Diagram, when it is asked, you have to understand that this is scientifically correct diagram you have to draw. So scientifically correct diagram means when you all are drawing the diagram, the position of the tension. So if you're not drawing tension over here to support this effort, and if you're not drawing tension over here to support this load, you will get 0 marks. So marking the position of tension in the strings is very, very important when you're drawing the diagram of the pulley. So this is a single fixed pulley, children. Understand that. So when the diagram is asked, because diagram of pulley is mostly asked, single fixed pulley. So you have to mark the rigid support, the hook from there, again the hook from the frame of the pulley, marking the position of the axle which is at the center. Drawing, when you're drawing the pulley, the circle should be drawn properly. Symmetrical diagram should be there. Then you're drawing the string. In that string, the downward position of the load when you're drawing the arrow, okay, from the uh, load, you can see over here it's written load is 10 kgf. The reason is it's G, okay, that we have marked, and the tension in the upward direction because it is balancing the load. Here you can see the effort is in the downward direction because whenever in a single fixed pulley the effort is applied, it is in the downward direction. To balance that, there is a tension in the string. So this marking is very, very important, utmost important. So for getting full marks, also you have to, write the footnote, that is the single fixed pulley. And when you are observing this slide, please draw the diagram in your notebook along with it when the explanation is going on. Now, what is this known as single fixed pulley? Definition for the single fixed pulley, rarely asked, but you learn it. Not mostly it is asked. The diagram is important. So a pulley which has its axis of rotation stationary in position. You can see axis of rotation is fixed. It's going to rotate always in this particular axis. So that's why it is known as a fixed pulley. And because there is only one, it's known as a single fixed pulley. Now, what can you guess about the MA of a single fixed pulley? Here you can see this is the load and this is the effort. So as you can see, whenever we are talking about a mechanical advantage of a machine, the formula for that is load upon effort. So you can see load and effort are equal because you can see here whatever is the weight of the load, that much effort you'll have to apply when you're trying to pull it. So this particular load and effort, as it is equal, so MA is going to be equal to 1. So that is what I have written over here. You can see. So you can see over here. So you can see over here, MA is equal to 1 as load and effort, as load is equal to effort, but in actual single fixed pulley. Now, this is about the ideal case. Because in ideal condition, there is no friction, we are not talking about the weight of the pulleys. But when we are talking about actual single fixed pulley, MA is less than 1. The reason is due to the friction at the axle or in the ball bearings. So there's a friction when it is moving, and because of that friction, the mechanical advantage decreases. So it is less than 1. But what about the velocity ratio? The velocity ratio never changes. Though there is friction, the velocity ratio will never change unless and until you change the design of the machine. So here we are not touching the design of the machine because Whatever is the size of the ring, that remains same. Whatever is the weight of the ring, that remains same. We are not changing the design. So that's the reason when the motion is taking place, when we are moving, when we are pulling the load, that time VR remains same, that is 1, but MA decreases. MA is less than 1 due to friction. So when we are writing about the efficiency, as we have learned in the previous slides, that efficiency is equal to MA upon VR. We have derived that also. So as MA upon VR it is, so MA is less than 1. That's why efficiency can never be 100% in case of actual machine. It's always going to be less than 100% due to the friction. Now, what is the use of this particular type of a pulley where MA is equal to 1? Okay, in ideal condition, MA is equal to 1. So, whenever we are not going to take in actual condition, we are always going to take MA as in the ideal condition when we are deciding whether it acts as a force multiplier, gain in speed, or changing the direction of application of effort. So, here MA is equal to 1, so it is only changing the direction of the force or the effort applied to be applied. So children, here B is missing. Please write it down. Please write it down over here when you all are making, note of it. So it's B has to come over here. So when the effort is to be applied. The change or the direction of the effort to be applied. So have you understood, children, over here, whatever we have done? Okay, now we go to the next part of this chapter. So in the next part of this chapter, we have to understand about this figure. Okay, now if you observe this figure and if you compare it with the previous figure what you have seen, you can see that the hook is not getting fixed with the hook of the pulley over here, with the with the hook of the frame which was shown in the last figure. But here we are showing that the string is attached to the hook, and due to the string the pulley can move up and down. So though it is a single pulley, but it is a single movable pulley. Okay, because the pulley can be moved up and down. So when you are drawing a single movable pulley, diagram to be drawn will be asked, as in case of single fixed pulley. So in this chapter you will see lot many diagrams will be asked to be drawn to identify the position. So to mark, all this application based question will be asked. So here you can see that the rigid support, then the hook you are going to show. From the hook you are going to show the string and marking the ring properly. So always have a pro circle with you to draw. That will go easier instead of compass, because pro circles have fixed size of circles with which it will go easier for you to draw. And from there you are going to show the thread is going in this direction. So you can see effort is, you're going to show effort in the upward direction. Tension, these two tensions are balancing one load. When the load is moving up and down, you can see that the load is balanced by these two tension in the two different strings. Not in case of the single fixed pulley, which we have seen that the load was balanced was one of the tension in the string, the effort was balanced with other tension in the other string. But here you can see when the load is moving up and down, these two tension are going to balance it, and the effort is only going to be balanced with this tension, because you are applying effort only in this string. This tension is not going to matter to this effort. So you have to understand that in this case of single movable pulley, the load is going to be balanced by two tension, because the strings, because of these two strings, the support of these two strings, the load is moving up and down. Okay, children. Uh, so definition again, as I told you before, is not going to be asked most of the time, but you learn the definition. A pulley whose axis of rotation is movable, because it's not very tough. A pulley whose axis of rotation is fixed is single fixed pulley. If the axis of rotation is movable, then it is called movable pulley. So it's not difficult to learn. Now the next part is mechanical advantage. As you can see, whenever you are talking about the mechanical advantage of a machine, the formula is load upon effort. You can see this load is balanced by these two tension in these two different string. So load is equal to 2T, effort is equal to 1T. Now as the formula is load upon effort, so 2T upon T, TT gets cancelled, so MA is equal to 2. So whenever you're talking about single movable pulley, MA is 2. It's That's why, in the last video which I had sent, when I was talking about the uses of simple machine, in one of the slide I had shown the pulley on the well, and I had said that it is used to, it is acting as a force multiplier as well. So there I was talking about the single movable pulley. Now if you are having a single movable pulley, because most of the time wells are having single fixed pulley, because they are only talking about, or they are only this type of pulleys, the single fixed pulley is helping you to change the direction of the effort. But suppose if your well is having single movable pulley, then in that case it is also acting like a force multiplier. So with respect to that, I was talking about single movable pulley. So here you can see MA is equal to 2, means it is greater than 1. So if it is greater than 1, it is acting as a force multiplier. So in most of the cases, you will see that when you go to construction site, where they have to lift the heavy load, from the ground to the fourth floor or the fifth floor, when the construction is going on, there you will see always they are using movable pulleys. So many movable pulleys are attached. So that is the reason it is acting like a force multiplier, and the single fixed pulley is attached to it, so that it will help to change the direction of the effort. Because when you are pulling it in the upward direction, that time it will go tedious for you to pull it in the upward direction. So if you attach this particular pulley with a single fixed pulley, the effort direction becomes convenient. The application of the effort becomes convenient, because with that you are applying the weight of the body. So it goes in the downward direction, and it becomes easier for you. Now we go to the next part of it. The next part is velocity ratio. Velocity ratio is, as you can see, velocity ratio, when we are talking about it, is dE upon dl. We have seen the formula in the last video. dE means distance covered by the effort, and with that distance, how much is the distance of the load moved. So if you see, if you're moving the effort by 1 meter, I say, as you can see, the load is moved with the help of two tension. The distance moved by the load will be d upon. The reason is it is balanced by two strings. So if you are taking 1 meter, it will be 1 upon 2. The reason is it is moved by the two tensions. So when we are writing about the load, we are writing d upon 2 and the effort is d. So as the ratio is d upon dl, I'll just write it down. As the formula of the velocity ratio is dE upon, it has to be subscript, but you write when you are writing it, small e and small l. So dE, as it is d over here, as it is moved only by one string effort, but load is moved with the help of two strings, so it is d by 2, because when it is moving, that time, the two strings are moving to move the load. So it is d upon 2. So now when you take division, you take the reciprocal to make it multiplication sign. So it will be d into 2 upon d, because you will take the reciprocal when you're changing the division sign, children. Understood? So now dd gets cancelled. So here you can see this particular d and this d, which is in the denominator and the numerator, gets cancelled. So when it gets cancelled, what will be the answer? What you will get? That will be equal to, so what you have got, VR is equal to 2. Now as we have learned that VR will never change unless and until you change the design of the machine. So it's going to remain 2. But mechanical advantage will decrease due to the friction and the weight of the pulley. So as it will decrease, MA will be less than 2 in case of actual condition. In ideal condition, always take MA is equal to 2. And when you are talking about whether it's a force multiplier, gain in speed, you have to consider the MA in the ideal condition. Okay. So now we go to the next part. So in the next part, we have to understand about efficiency. Efficiency is MA upon VR. Efficiency is equal to 100% in ideal condition, but in case of actual SMP is single movable pulley. Due to the friction in the ball bearings, since here there are ball bearings where the axle is attached. So due to the friction, the ball bearings are used to decrease the friction. Lubrication is applied to decrease the friction. Lubricants are applied to decrease the friction. Ball bearings also are, used to decrease the friction. But you have to understand that though it is used, some friction or little friction will be there, and also weight of the pulley and the string. That's why efficiency is always going to be less than 100% in actual condition, and also MA will be less than 2. So I hope children till here it's clear. Now we go to the next part where you have to understand about block and tackle system. In your textbook, it is, the number of pulleys are given with the movable pulleys and the fixed pulley. That is not there for you in the scope, so I'm not touching that. You directly go to the block and tackle arrangement. Block and tackle arrangement, basically what it is. Here you can see that this is one block and this is the other block. So always the lower block and the upper block. So this is where you can see that number of pulleys are there in the block and tackle, and it is used to increase the efficiency, increase the mechanical advantage. Now here you can see that the number of pulleys, if there are 5 pulleys, the mechanical advantage is 5. If there are 4 pulleys, the mechanical advantage is 4. So as you can see, the mechanical advantage is greater than 1. It's acting as a force multiplier. So these pulleys are mostly used in different machines where they need to have that they need to pick or pull the heavy loads. So here you can see in the block and tackle arrangement, if there are odd number of pulleys, lower tackle should have less pulleys. Always that is the rule, so that you will increase or minimize, you will increase the efficiency and minimize the friction and the weight of the pulley, due to which your efficiency and MA both will be taken care. It won't be, there won't be much change. So here, how to draw block and tackle, very important. So in the next slide, I'll be showing that. You understand that when you're drawing it, you're drawing a rigid support, a hook from the rigid support, the hook from the frame. Okay, this is the frame where 3 pulleys of one tackle is going to be attached. So when one block you're talking about, see, this is how up you're going to show the hook, down again you're going to show the hook. The frame is going to have the hook on either side, on both the sides. At the center, mark the position of the axle, because from here they are going to rotate. So scientifically correct diagram, marking the position of the axle, drawing the circles. You can see that it's, the radius is decreasing. That is also important. So when you're arranging, it should not be of all the same size, decreasing order. Here also you can see this is of the bigger radius, this is smaller. Dots at the center on the frame, hook on the either side. Okay, and from here, from this hook, you're going to mark the load. When it is odd, always remember, here you can see that the number is odd. When it is odd, okay, so always remember with the trick that when you are having odd number of pulleys, remember odd as old people in your family. So whoever is old are respectable people. So if they are sitting, okay, if of entire family is going to sit together, so where will be the position of the old people, older people who are there in the family? It will be in the upper, seat will be given to them. So always remember that odd, it resembles to, just to remember the trick. old means up. So you are going from this hook in the upward position when you're drawing the circling of the stick, when it is moving around the pulleys. So from the, when I'm drawing, I'll be drawing with the help of the pencil so that you will know in the next figure, next slide, I'll be showing how to draw. So here you can see from here, you're moving up from the downward. So odd is up, goes like this. Then it moves like this. Okay, so when you are starting in the upward position, and don't attach it to the hook and the hooker, just move from one pulley to the other pulley. So this is how you'll be going. Now, when you're drawing in your notebook, it will go better than what I have drawn. So when you're marking the tension, the effort and one tension, this particular effort and tension is going to be effort balanced with one tension. So this tension you're not going to count when you're counting the other tensions with the load. So this is only for the effort balancing, this tension. Now you can see from inside I have marked, this is 1T. So this is 1T. This is 2. And over here you can see this is 3. This is 4. And this is the 5th one. Okay, so you can see there are 5 T's which is balancing the load. So you have to understand 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th one. So that is how there are 5 T's. 5T balanced with 1T, so TT gets cancelled, so it is 5. So mechanical advantage is 5. You will be asked to derive the mechanical advantage for the block and tackle, or sometimes MA is given and you are asked to draw the block and tackle for the given MA. So this is how you'll be doing it. And VR is equal to 5, as MA and VR is same, but MA can change due to friction and the weight of the pulley. So here also, to minimize, whenever you want to minimize the friction, or you don't want the MA to change, so you have to have the less weight in the lower block. So lower block pulley should be having lesser weight, and you should apply lubricant so that friction will be minimized. So I hope children till here it's clear. Now if you see the next one here, you can see that as there are 4 pulleys, so it's equal, and whenever it is even, you go in the downward direction, opposite of the odd. So you're going downward direction. Now why we are doing that? Because effort has to be in the downward direction. The application of the effort we want always to be in the downward direction. So we'll go like this, and then we come out, and don't attach this string to this pulley. So if you're going in the downward from this hook, you move it around the pulley like this and then go. So this tension and this effort are balancing each other. Again, effort and the tension. And you can see over here 1, this is this, you have to mark from inside. So 1 tension, 2 tension, I'll take this as 1, this as 2, this as 3, and this as the 4th one. So you can see 4T is balanced with the load, and 1T is balanced with the effort. So load is equal to 4T and effort is equal to T. So when you take the ratio MA, MA is equal to load upon effort, so you will get MA is equal to 4, because TT gets cancelled. 4T upon T, TT gets cancelled, and you take the ratio, and MA is equal to 4. So I hope children till here it's clear. Now drawing block and tackle is very, very important, most of the time asked. So this is the major part of the chapter, as it is asked every time. So you have to understand that how you have to draw. So as I told you, theory part is most of the time not asked, drawing is asked. So this is where I have to draw. So you have to understand that as I'm drawing it, because I'm drawing it on the computer, the circles with which I'm drawing it won't be very, very perfect. But when you're drawing in your notebook, take the pro circle and see that upper, pulley in the tackle has to be of the greater radius, and then you decrease the radius. So this is the rigid support with the horizontal line you're going to draw. This is how you're going to represent the hook. Now your hook for this also going to be there for the block, which is going to start from the frame. So first draw the hook and the frame. Draw the frame, first. So as I told you, I'm not using scale. I'm drawing using rough. I'm going to have the diagram not very perfectly with the line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the circle over here. So let's see if I can do it with. Okay, so I'm trying once again. If I can just draw it a better one. I'll be drawing it. So it goes easier with the pencil. So children, see to it again. I'm saying that when you all are drawing, please draw it perfectly. So this is how the circle I'm drawing. And this will be the smaller circle. So here you have to mark the axle point. Children, please bear with me. I'm drawing with 4 pulley. So here will be the hook. Okay. Now again, here will be one more hook of the frame, which is the starting. So as I told you, on the either side of the frame, you're going to draw the hook. First, draw the frame. And always remember, whenever it is odd number of pulleys, the lower block will have less number of pulleys, and the upper block will have more. Whenever it is even, you're going to have a same number of pulleys. So it doesn't matter. And this is smaller, and this is going to be a bigger one. When I'm drawing, you will say that the size is not shown, but please draw it properly. Here again, the hook. With this hook, you're going to attach the load. This load, when you're marking, the weight should be shown with the downward arrow, and right over your L. This is where you're going to fix the point. Okay, this showing that the axle is very important. As I'm telling you, draw it with the scale and pencil. Children, I'll cut your marks if you're not drawing it with scale and pencil. Now this attachment, when you're showing it, show that they are fixed in one another. Now you have to draw the string. So as it is even means down, odd means up. Even is down, so we are going like this around the pulley. Then shift to this. The next, which is there in the. Then from here going to the next pulley, and this is how we come out of it. Now this is the effort, and this effort uh, which you're going to draw is going to be balanced. 1 minute actually. So this is the effort, and this is going to be balanced with this tension in the string. Now when you're calculating, you're not going to calculate this tension. Now from inside you're going to mark. This is 1T, second T, third T, okay, and this is the fourth T. So now you can see that the load is balanced with 4T. Okay, and then the effort upon effort I'm going to write directly MA, and effort is balanced with 1T. So TT gets cancelled. So what is the MA? MA is equal to 4. So I hope children, most of the time it is 4 or 5 fully asked. So if it is 4, you have to draw it like that. 6, 7 is not asked. 5 and 4 is asked. So practice this perfectly. Now when you're showing, draw this diagram. After that, for 5 pulley. So this will be how, this is how you're going to draw. Rigid support. From that, the hook gets fixed over here in the upper side. You're going to draw the frame first. So draw a longer frame whenever it is odd number of pulley. So, I'll be drawing from here. This is a bigger circle you have to draw. Let's see. Children, when y'all are drawing, take pro circle and draw it properly. I'm going to draw rough figure because I have no other choice. Smaller and then the smaller one. It has to be inside the, tackle. So this is how you're going to mark the axle point and draw a little with the gap. There has to be some gap. The hook has to be on the either side. Again, there should be a gap between these two hooks because the upper one I have attached. We have to attach it. But when you are drawing from the lower one, gap should be there. Now, this is how you're going to draw the frame. Sorry. So it is odd, means here it is 3. So remaining 2 you have to draw over here. This is so I'm going to draw a smaller one here, then a bigger one here, and show with the gap, children. Draw with the gap. Little bit longer I'll draw. And then you have to draw it with a gap. It has to be inside, and here the hook has to be there. Then with the hook attach the load. Weight you have to show in the downward direction from the center of the gravity. So when you're drawing the arrow from the center, it has to be shown in the downward direction. This is the L is equal to, you have to write mg. And this is where you're going to mark the axle point. Now as it is odd is up. So from here, don't attach this two. Move from here to the around the pulley, sorry. Up pulley, then this pulley. So drawing this is very important, children. If you practice this, this is what is going to be asked in the chapter most of the time. This is how you go and you draw the effort. So now this is your effort, and to balance that, tension in the string. Don't count this tension when you're counting with the load. Now from here, this is one tension, second in this string, third in this string, fourth in this string, and then fifth in this string. So now you can see for the load, it's going to be 5 tension, which is balancing the load, and the effort, and upon effort I'm writing directly. You have to first write load, effort separately, and then write MA is equal to load upon effort. And then this tension gets cancelled. So your MA is equal to 1, is equal to 5, sorry. MA is equal to 5. So the number of pulleys So if it is asked, draw the block and tackle arrangement if the MA is 5. So you have to understand that you have to select the number of pulleys in the block as the same number as the MA. So when you are selecting the tackle, the upper tackle should have 3 and the lower tackle should have 2. And if it is even, the upper tackle and the lower tackle of the same number of pulleys. But when you're drawing the pulley, the radius of the pulley, it should be bigger one, then smaller one, then the smallest one. And like that, it has to go in the decreasing order. Here it has to go in the increasing order. And drawing the hooks, as I have told you, take care how you have to draw. Draw it in your notebook, children, and practice it well. You all will do this chapter very well, I know. Thank you, children.